everyone, it's your music video maven Gabby. Welcome back to the Musicians Prime YouTube channel, the #1 place for musicians to learn how they can leverage their careers with video. If you've ever wanted to make your music videos or videos in general look smoother and cleaner from scene to scene, then this is the video for you, because today I'm going to be teaching you how to incorporate jump cut transitions so you can do just that. Now, for those of you musicians who are watching this and have no idea what I'm talking about when I say the word jump cut is essentially a video transition where you go from scene to scene and there's no visually obvious transition. It's just going from one clip to the next clip, to the next clip, to the next clip. Now, jump cuts can be used as really effective transitions to go from scene to scene to scene in music videos, but they're also really important to use in videos like this. You know, whenever you make like a tutorial of something, or just talking head videos, it's more effective to use than just having random pauses or blurts or whatever. Jump cuts are especially useful technique to use for YouTubers, because if you make YouTube videos like I do for this channel, when you do these scenes in front, sometimes you're gonna have a lot of mess ups. So to kind of avoid these like little blurts or mess ups from getting in the way, you can just kind of cut from scene to scene really quickly and make it look as if the transition was never even there. It was almost like one seamless clip. The key to a good jump cut is that you don't really notice the cut so much because the transition is so smooth. So here's an example of what some jump cuts might look like. So for example, maybe I'll point here, and then I'll point here, and then I'll point here, and then I'll point down here. Now notice how that video moved from scene to scene to scene, just like that. There was hardly any interruption. You just saw me point from one direction to another. This is one way you can effectively use jump cuts. Now in this video, I'm going to show you how you could use jump cuts effectively in just general video editing and in music video editing. Before I get to the actual edit, I want to make sure I point out the two really key components to an effective jump cut. The first one is to make sure you're removing any audio gaps. The whole idea behind jump cut is that, as you're talking or moving from scene to scene, the audio transitions are seamless. You don't notice any little pauses or ums or those weird gaps that sometimes you have when you're talking into a video. Again, good jump cuts will be really seamless transitions, so we don't want any weird audio gaps in there. So that's kind of the first key component that you need to look out for when you're editing and making a jump cut transition. The second way you can create an effective jump cut is by changing the composition, meaning the outlook of the scene. So one way you can do this is by zooming in a scene, kind of like I just did right now, or in the context of a music video, you can change how that looks by, changing whatever the subject's doing, focusing on a different action instead of, for example, if I'm playing clarinet, maybe one shot's of my fingers, one shot's of my face playing, and so on and so forth. And that's, using jump cuts to create transitions from different parts of my performance can make a really effective music video. Yeah, those are really the two main rules when it comes to jump cuts. So now let's get into the editing room so I can show you firsthand how to actually create these jump cuts.
So I'm going to be showing you how I edited this clip right here that you saw me do earlier as an example of general video editing jump cuts. And I'm just going to take you through how I worked through and created those little jump cuts for that scene. So we want to zoom in using Command =, and then we're going to first kind of go over this little transition over here between these two clips. So before I even start editing that first section, I'm going to review what happens before to see where I'm going to make my first cut, because I don't necessarily want everything that's going on before, so I'm just going to take a quick listen.
So here's an example of what some jump cuts might look like. So maybe I point here.
So you can see I kind of stumbled here, so I'm actually going to make a cut right in the middle of that before I make my first transition to that first scene of me pointing. So I'm just going to review the audio first.
What some jump cuts might look like.
Right where I stopped is where I said what jump cuts might look like is about where I want to cut. So I'm going to zoom in find around the area that I want to cut, just kind of make sure this is where I want to cut with the blade tool here. Then I make another snip with the blade tool right where I want the next clip to start, and then I delete everything in the middle.
So for example,
so you can see the transition I made in that jump cut was pretty smooth, but I want to cut it even closer just to make it like a really quick transition cut. So I snip a little bit off the end.
So for example,
See how that's a much closer cut, so the transition goes even faster. So I'm gonna leave that first cut right there. So now let's take a look at the next two sections right here and see how I make the jump cut there. Again, we're gonna zoom in using Command = sign just to see where the audio tapers off, and then give a listen to this first part.
So for example, maybe I'll point here.
So you see, I wanna kind of make this first cut here right before the audio tapers off. Then I'm gonna make a little cut right before the next clip, delete the middle part, boom. And now let's hear how it sounds.
Maybe I'll point here, and then I'll point here.
You see how quick that transition was? That was a good one. So now let's do the next two clips from here to here. So at this point, I don't need to zoom in anymore to see where I'm gonna cut the clips, but if you're not used to doing this, I would recommend you zoom in so you get a more accurate cut. So delete that, and now let's review the clip.
And then I'll point here, and then I'll point here.
See, nice, quick, smooth transition. Okay, so now I'm gonna do the same thing for these last two audio clips. Review the first part. All right, so then after that, I'm just gonna go ahead and make my cuts. Zoom in if you need to, but me, I know what I'm doing, so I'm gonna delete this little bit right here, and then we're gonna review the last cut.
Point here, and then I'll point here, and then I'll point down here.
Wonderful, that looks great. So now we're just gonna review all the cuts we made from beginning to end of this entire scene.
So here's an example of what some jump cuts might look like. So for example, maybe I'll point here, and then I'll point here, and then I'll point here, and then I'll point down here.
And voila, pretty cool, huh? So in music video jump cuts, it works a little bit differently because we're not really focusing as much on the, cutting out the audio between like takes for talking, because there's not really much talking. You're mostly viewing it for music. And so the key with making jump cuts in music videos has more to do with changing the composition or the different scenes of whatever subject that you're reviewing, which in this case, it's me in the music video clips. So we're gonna be going over a few different shots that you can cut to along with the music video music that I've chosen for today's little music video sample. First two clips kind of go over a shot between me with just my fingers and me with just my head. So the part that we want to focus on first is where the fingers line up. Now, the tricky thing with doing finger clips is that when you play an instrument that involves, pushing buttons or fingerings, you want to make sure that every single little part of your fingers is lining up. So that's the kind of like the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to find the place in the little audio clip where where the fingers line up for that clip. So now you can see we found kind of like the general area of where the fingers go, but it wasn't quite exactly lined up with where my fingers were landing. So the next step is gonna kind of be for me to splice and search more or less where this little point is gonna be, exactly where the fingers land. Note that sometimes when I'm having a hard time finding where to line up the clip, I add that little keyframe dot that I normally use to adjust volume, so I can have like a little marker to figure out where exactly it's that spot where the fingers first start lifting off or landing. Okay, so as you can see, it took a bit of adjusting, but I finally found the spot where the fingers really land, and so I'm gonna kind of just trim some of this end here so we can move on to the next scene. And I'm gonna do something similar with this wide shot here. I'm gonna kind of look to see where the fingers line up the most. Though with wide shots, it's a little easier to, you know, maybe if it's not perfect, it just looks more or less when the fingers go down. It's a little easier to get away with because you're not quite paying so close attention. But you can see my hands pretty clearly still, so I at least want it to be similar to what I'm doing in the scene before. Now, another way I can also make this interesting is by, you know, not just necessarily cutting to a wide shot, because first you were watching my face and then maybe we might want to go back to my face and see how in that spot right there my hand kind of comes up the same point where I come off in the last clip. That kind of makes for an interesting cut in the music video, so I'm gonna kind of just edit myself right there. Okay, so we're getting a little closer, but it's not quite where I want it yet, so I'm gonna play around with this a little bit more and see if I can find a spot where I like this transition, this trade-off from the second face scene to the wide shot of me playing. So another thing that I just realized as I was playing around was that I'm also playing another part in the background. So if I can get my fingers in this wide shot to match up with that, I think that would work great. So after a couple little more adjustments, let's hear how these clips transition together. Okay, so now that's taken care of. I like where that's at. I'm just gonna trim the end of this clip. I'll trim the end of this audio since, you know, just for the purposes of this scene, I don't really need that extra stuff. Oh, and then as I'm reviewing this first clip, I'm realizing I'm not actually playing in that part, so I kind of want to trim down this first part to, you know, just show the parts where I'm playing and not where I'm just getting ready and getting into the scene. And just for the purposes, again, of this scene, I'm going to trim the audio down just a little bit just so everything kind of matches up. Okay, now all the edits are made, let's review how it all sounds. And there you have it.
So this concludes our tutorial on jump cut transitions. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you find the content on this channel valuable, please go give this video a thumbs up, a like, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. This is the best way you can support me and the Musicians Prime platform. And of course, if you know someone else who might find this valuable, please share with a friend, get them to subscribe and become part of the Musicians Prime community. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of this video, and if there's anything else you'd like to learn specifically about editing or just video in general so I can make more helpful content for you. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope to see you next time. Bye, y'all.